Today, I'm with my friend Zhan Cheng, and we met in Tulsa. He is currently working in video production.
Basically, what I'm doing right now for minor league baseball team, used to work in Tulsa with the Drillers for 2 years, and right now in Fredericksburg, Virginia for the single A team for the Nationals.
And so do you mind telling me where you were born, where you grew up, what cities you've lived in?
Yeah, right. So I born in Guangxi Nanning in China and moved to United States. The first stop, Indianapolis, is 2016. That's for my master's degree in sports journalism. After a year, moved to Tulsa because I got a job with the Tulsa Drillers. Spent 2 years over there, meeting a lot of wonderful people, including you, of course. And after 2 years, I moved to Virginia, Fredericksburg, Virginia, which is like an hour away from DC. That's so far like the experience I have in America.
When you first arrived in Indianapolis, what was your reception?
I would say like pretty warmly. I got in touch with like a landlord who is Chinese. Most of the people live in her property are Chinese. So I got picked up in the airport when I reported to the school, and teachers and my classmates all like very welcoming me. When I landed in Indianapolis, the city gave me like kind of impression of like it's very open area because the airport area is like pretty open, and Midwest is all like plain and you can see things from like miles away. My hometown is kind of like inside the hills, inside the mountains.
Were you ever like a target of racism in Indianapolis?
I wouldn't say like racism per se, because I haven't have anyone like attack me or harass me because of the color of my skins or where I'm from. It's more like stereotypical opinion on me. It's like if you go play basketball in the gym, and people will think that you're not competitive and you are like you are too polite to play.
Well, did they ever say anything like racial about your heritage of being Chinese or from China? Did they ever like make any comments, even if you weren't like attacked?
I wouldn't say like in Indianapolis. Yesterday, I was out playing baseball in the men's league baseball. I bat lefty, so when I step up the box, there's another team's dugout. There's a guy just saying that, oh, we got a Suzuki Ichiro here, just like profiling me to like another Asian baseball player.
In terms of living in Tulsa, Indianapolis, and now Fredericksburg, do you think that people have interacted with you differently because of maybe the size of the city or because of their lack of experience with Asians?
When I was in Indianapolis, I interact with a lot of Asian community. Most of them are Chinese, so it's like not really have like experience with other Americans. When I would move to Tulsa, it's mostly
like white, right?
Yeah,
like the people that you were around?
Yeah, right. I think most of them are really great to me. In the work environment, embrace me. There's one, our coworkers, not like full-time. He like working game day. He will make like jokes on me sometimes, which I don't remember most of them. Brush it off, and I don't really care, and he's no one. And my friend actually like he is really on my side, and then like after work he will come up to me and say, hey, if you want me to stop, then I will just throw him out of the control room. We didn't like burst out during work because we're in a like very high, intense work environment.
That's environment,
live production, and so everything's on the fly.
What kind of like comments or jokes would he say?
Like the famous one, the Asian dick joke, and sometimes like he would say like, "Oh, I don't know what you're saying. I don't understand."
Like I don't understand you.
He want me to change my accent. I mean, I have an accent because I speak English full time for at that point 2 years. Of course I have an accent. I don't know if there's other. I don't actually like remember a lot. I feel the most of that kind of like people staring at you is after like the COVID outburst, and it's like in Fredericksburg, and you go to a grocery store and just like people will stare at you and just kind of like look at you and just like move away. And I cannot like complain and things like that because it just pandemic, everyone has to be apart from each other, like social distancing. But it's just like while you're staring at me, so if you see a person, you just keep the distance while you're staring at me and walk away. Nobody likes actually saying something. I post on Facebook just because I saw all those videos. There's 2 girls in Australia that they got yelled at and spit on, and the guy got bitten because like being Asian, being Chinese. So I post something there on my Facebook saying, listing think the reason why you don't want to call it like a
Chinese virus.
You don't,
yeah, or making jokes about
yes,
like
exactly.
flu and all that
Yes, exactly. Why this is not a good thing for us, Asian community. You know, lost some friends on Facebook, not a big deal. Most of them are very like supportive and read my perspectives and understand it, because I live in the United States for like not a long time, in each city for like 1 or 2 years, and some people you meet just like superficial.
It's not like people are like, oh, you're Chinese, so I'm gonna attack you. It's, you know, a lot of people see East Asians all as one group, right?
Right, yeah,
like Chinese, Japanese, Korean, like you guys are just one group. And so like Japanese, you know, people overseas, Korean people overseas have been the target of increased like attacks and racism, even though those countries themselves have handled the coronavirus pretty well, like better than, you know, the United States has. And it's like people are still very like hateful, or they don't even care to like make the distinction. Once you know someone of like a certain background, you're more likely to be interested in finding out more about their culture, the history, and hearing their perspective. Like if you don't know anyone, or you're not close to anyone who is of a different background, then you're less likely to care. You know, you see it less as like a human issue, and you see it more as like that's their issue.
So the one question I got asked a lot is like, do you guys actually eat dogs? There's certain place, like very small place, they have the tradition to eat dogs. I would say like 98%, 98% people in Asia don't eat dogs. There's a group of people in southern Mississippi, they eat crocodiles. And you're saying all the Americans eat crocodiles. Most of my struggle I've been through is just understand what people are saying, because I mean it's not my first language. Maybe they make a joke about me and I didn't even realize, especially for the first 2 years or first 3 years in America. In Asian culture, in the conversation, you kind of have like being polite, and even though you haven't like understand a lot, one natural reaction is just nod along, like
agreeing. Yeah,
it's like because you don't want to offend other people. And then I think that kind of behaviors give people an impression. It's like, oh, they're so easy to step on. It's like, oh, it doesn't matter if I say anything bad. I mean, it's still like I'm trying to be polite, but not like, okay, if you want to step on me, you can step on me, not like that. Because I never have that kind of experience when I was in China. It's like nobody gonna step on you.
Right? Like saving face is so important.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned that, you know, everyone in China is Chinese, but to my knowledge, there is sort of like a hierarchy, right? Because there's like different ethnicities, like Han Chinese are like the majority and dominate, I guess, the government positions and stuff, but there are different ethnicities as well. And so would you say there's like racism in the Chinese culture, or like discrimination within China?
Yes. So me personally, I'm Hui. In the population size-wise, it's not very like large. When I was like 6th grade, 5th grade to like middle school, there were people like making fun of Xinjiang people.
Right, the Uyghurs, right? Like people of like ethnic Muslim background.
People will make fun of them because how they not go by the rules, and they steal things from people on the streets and things like that. And people making a song of saying that all the people from Xinjiang is doing that, which is not true.
So they were viewed as like criminals.
Right. They were like profiling as criminals. Different region in China have like a different stereotype. I'm from Guangxi, China, which is like very southern China, like close to Vietnam. And actually one of the place, it's like very, very super small town that eat dogs. As in our province, people will say like all of us is like eat dogs. So one thing I'm very guilty with is like when they like come out with the songs attack Xinjiang people, I laugh. I was in the environment, it's like everyone thinks like that's who they are. But like growing up and I see more things, read more articles, I start getting the perspective of different people and start sense to understand people without applying stereotypes on them.
Yeah, like this situation, feeling like the target of maybe like discrimination helps you like understand maybe what other people have gone through and felt.
Exactly, because I'm from like China, which is like 98% of the population is Chinese, despite the ethnicity. Also, I'm from a city that is not as big as Shanghai, not as big as Beijing, and where like the population is more diverse over there. If you compare to America, probably I'm from Tulsa. When you see news, sometimes news like paint a picture of different kind of ethnicity, have like a different kind of profiling them, and that really distort how people think toward a certain ethnicity and nationality kind of stuff.
Media will be a part of how the public sees certain people's actions. They help shape that opinion almost by what they choose to highlight, the word choice, what they choose to portray, the story that they're creating.
In the beginning of the outbreak of coronavirus and everyone just saying Chinese virus, Chinese virus, Chinese virus, it's very important that the Asian community to stand up and to speak our voice, telling people that that's not okay to say. Like Asian point of like value is just one phrase, 和气生财, which means like if you just keep your head down, do your things and make more money, and problem will go away, which is not true. If you're not stood up for the things as injustice, it will backfire you at some point. If you're like, oh, I'm allowing this to another race of people, another group of people, it's more like that's not my problem. And then what will happen?
They won't support you. Yeah, when you're in trouble, they're gonna be like, well, you didn't help us.
Also, like people will think that you're easy to bully because you just keep your head down. Like in Chinese history, like the end of Qing dynasty is one of the reasons like Cixi, who was the emperor, and she is like letting invaders from the west just come in and take the stuff because the invaders promised they will protect the country. And what happened is the invader just go into the palace and rob everything because they think that you are not going to fight back, and you don't have the ability to fight back. All you do is like compromising, keep compromising, gradually losing not just money, not just power, but all like respect. In the Chinese value is don't be radical, and if you can compromise. You don't have to fight back. If you keep your head down, make money, do your work, everything will be fine. I'm normally like pretty chill person, but if somebody like trying to bully you, and you need to stood up for that.
And I also think like once I learn to stand up for myself, I'm able to stand up for other people.
Right is right, wrong is wrong. Something you can say, something you can't do. If this thing's wrong, I'll tell you this thing is wrong. You cannot do that. Encourage you to do the right thing. I have been better, so I'm still trying to do better because sometimes I still like hesitating to do up, and it's not about how close we are. I'm not gonna protect when you do the wrong thing.
Depending on how long you live somewhere, you're gonna start developing those mindsets, those ideas.
Right.
And so like, how do you feel that your identity has been affected through like living in the United States for the past like 3 years?
Living here for like almost 4 years right now, one major things that like I really changing is self-consciousness. I'm from China, I'm Asian, which is one thing that I need to stood up for the Asian community. I never thought about that. I never thought about it when I was in China, even though I'm not from America, but it affects me like directly. Normally we'll see myself from a third person perspective. So for example, you go out to work and you do things, you say things, come home today, you think about that thing as a third person. How is that going to look?
You like replay the incident. Yeah.
You start learning yourself more.
Thank you so much for your time today. You taught us a lot about, like Chinese history and your perspective of experiencing American culture as an adult.
No problem. Thank you for having me.